What if everything you've been taught about building a better life is fundamentally, dangerously wrong? For years, maybe decades, you've been told to think positive, stay motivated, find your passion, chase happiness. And yet, here you are, still struggling, still feeling like the ground shifts beneath you every time life gets difficult. Still watching other people seem to move through chaos like it doesn't touch them, wondering what they know that you don't. Today, that changes. You're about to discover 8 powerful Stoic habits, forged in the philosophy of ancient warriors, emperors, and slaves who turned suffering into strength that will systematically rebuild your entire life from the inside out. These aren't motivational quotes. These aren't feel-good affirmations. These are battle-tested principles that have survived over 2,000 years of human struggle, and they are more relevant right now than at any point in modern history. We'll go deep, we'll go uncomfortable, and we'll go transformational. Watch till the end. The habit you skip might be the one that saves everything. In 161 AD, a man named Marcus Aurelius became the most powerful human being on earth. He commanded the greatest empire the ancient world had ever seen. He had absolute wealth, absolute authority, and absolute power. And yet, every single morning, before the sun rose, before his generals arrived, before the weight of empire descended, he sat alone and wrote in a private journal, not for publication, not for posterity, for survival. He wrote in meditations, "Begin the morning by saying to thyself, I shall meet with the busybody, the ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, unsocial." Most people read that and feel disturbed. A great emperor preparing for the worst? Starting each day expecting difficulty, betrayal, and struggle? But that is the point. Marcus wasn't being pessimistic, he was being prepared. He was building the one fortress that no external force could ever breach, the fortress of his own mind. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy, not passive endurance, not quiet suffering, but the active, disciplined, daily construction of an unbreakable interior life. And here is why this matters now, in 2025, more than ever before. We live in an age of unprecedented distraction, anxiety, and psychological fragility. Social media engineers your dopamine response. News cycles manufacture outrage. Comparison culture destroys self-worth before 9 a.m. The modern world is specifically designed to keep you reactive, dependent, and weak. Stoicism is the antidote. In this video, we'll explore 8 transformational habits drawn from the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. Habits that will rebuild your discipline, restore your focus, silence your fear, and turn you into the kind of person who doesn't just survive the storm, but becomes the storm. Let's begin. Habit 1. The habit of the morning fortress. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being, he continued, or is it your purpose to lie there and keep warm? This profound truth has guided warriors, leaders, and philosophers for centuries. The morning is not a gift, it is a battlefield, and how you enter it determines everything. Most people treat the morning as a passive event. The alarm sounds and they are immediately dragged into reaction, checking notifications, consuming other people's thoughts, surrendering their mental state to the chaos of the outside world before they've even spoken a word. The Stoics understood something that modern neuroscience now confirms. The first 60 to 90 minutes after waking are neurologically distinct. Your prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason, discipline, and long-term thinking, is most accessible in those early hours. Your brain is literally primed for intentional reprogramming. When you surrender those minutes to your phone, you are handing the keys to your mind to strangers. You wake up already anxious, already reactive, already a passenger in your own life. The rest of your day is spent recovering from a morning you never controlled. You arrive at important moments already depleted, already distracted, already defeated by invisible forces you never chose to engage with. Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, before you speak a single word, sit in silence for 5 minutes. Breathe deliberately. Then write down 3 things: what you intend to accomplish, what obstacle you expect to face, and how you will choose to respond to it. This is what Marcus called his morning preparation. You are not predicting the future. You are arming yourself for it. This single habit, practiced daily with discipline and consistency, will separate you from 90% of the people you know within 12 months, not because you are smarter, not because you are luckier, but because you chose to own your morning before the world could steal it. The man who controls his first hour controls his entire day, and the man who controls his days builds his destiny. But knowing how to start your morning is only the beginning. There's a deeper habit, one that most people never develop, that determines whether your strength holds when the pressure becomes real. Let's move to habit 2. Habit 2, the habit of voluntary hardship. Seneca wrote in Letters to Lucilius, letter X vir, set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition that I feared? This profound truth has guided warriors, leaders, and philosophers for centuries. Seneca wasn't describing poverty, he was describing the most powerful act of mental training a human being can perform. Voluntary hardship is the practice of intentionally removing comfort, not because comfort is evil, but because dependence on comfort is a form of imprisonment. The Stoics understood that the man who fears discomfort is a man who can be controlled. Remove his warmth and he breaks. Take away his status and he crumbles. Deny him his routine and he panics. Modern psychology calls this stress inoculation, the deliberate exposure to manageable discomfort to build resistance to greater suffering. The Stoics call it wisdom. Here is the painful truth most people avoid. You are addicted to ease. Every time you choose the elevator over the stairs, the delivery app over cooking, the snooze button over waking, you are training your nervous system to demand more comfort and tolerate less difficulty. You are weakening yourself, and you don't even feel it happening. Once a week, practice voluntary hardship. Take a cold shower and stay in it until your mind stops screaming. Skip a meal and sit with the hunger instead of immediately feeding it. Walk instead of drive. Wear simple clothing. Sit in silence without entertainment. The goal is not punishment. The goal is proof to yourself that you can survive discomfort, that your fears about hardship are larger than the hardship itself. Because the moment you prove to yourself that you can endure what you feared, you become free. Every time you choose discomfort willingly, you reclaim a piece of your power that comfort had quietly stolen. That is the habit of voluntary hardship. And when life eventually forces difficulty upon you, and it will, you will not break, because you have already practiced not breaking. If you think voluntary hardship is powerful, what comes next will fundamentally change how you see every single problem in your life. Let's move to habit 3. Habit 3, the habit of the dichotomy. Epictetus wrote in the Enchiridion, chapter 1, some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion. Things not in our control are body, reputation, command, and in one word, whatever are not our own actions. This profound truth has guided warriors, leaders, and philosophers for centuries. In 2 sentences, Epictetus gave humanity the most powerful psychological operating system ever constructed. The dichotomy of control is not a philosophical concept, it is a practical weapon. It is the habit of relentlessly sorting every situation you encounter into 2 categories: what you can influence and what you cannot. Epictetus was a slave. He had no freedom of movement, no property, no civil rights, and yet he was psychologically free in ways that his Roman masters, with all their wealth and power, were not, because he had mastered this single discipline with ruthless consistency. Most people destroy themselves fighting what cannot be changed. They rage at traffic, they resent other people's opinions, they lose sleep over stock markets, weather, the past and the future, none of which bends to their will. And all the while, the things they could change, their effort, their response, their character, their choices, sit neglected. This is the great tragedy of the unexamined life. Enormous energy, wasted on storms you cannot stop, while the garden you could cultivate turns to weeds. Starting today, when something disturbs your peace, ask one question before you react. Is this within my control? If yes, act immediately and decisively. If no, release it with the same finality with which you release a stone into deep water. Practice this separation every single day. In your relationships, apply it. You cannot control whether someone loves you, but you can control how worthy of love you choose to become. At work, apply it. You cannot control every outcome, but you can control the quality and integrity of your effort. The habit of the dichotomy doesn't make you passive, it makes you precise. It focuses your finite energy like a laser on the only battlefield that matters, yourself. Remember this habit when we reach habit 6. The connection between these two principles creates something extraordinarily powerful. But first, there is a habit so universally neglected, so deeply uncomfortable, that most people spend their entire lives running from it. Let's move to habit 4. Habit 4, the habit of memento mori. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Of human life the time is a point, and the substance is in a flux, and the perception dull, and the composition of the whole body subject to putrefaction." He continued, "Thou hast seen those things. Look also at these. Do not disturb thyself by thinking of the whole of thy life." This profound truth has guided warriors, leaders, and philosophers for centuries. Memento mori. Remember that you will die. These words have been inscribed on rings, painted on skulls, whispered by philosophers and generals for 2,000 years. And in our modern era, obsessed with youth, comfort, and the illusion of infinite time, they are more necessary than ever. This is not morbidity. This is clarity. The Stoics understood that death is not the enemy of a good life. The forgetting of death is. When you truly internalize that your time is finite and non-negotiable, something remarkable happens inside you. The trivial things you've been agonizing over reveal themselves as trivial. The petty arguments, the social comparisons, the pursuit of approval from people whose names you'll forget. All of it dissolves in the light of mortality. What remains is only what is real. You waste days, you spend hours angry at people who don't deserve your energy. You delay the conversation you need to have, the goal you need to pursue, the person you know you should become, and you delay it because somewhere beneath your awareness you believe there is infinite time. There is not. Every moment you waste in reaction, resentment, or mediocrity is a moment you chose not to live. Each morning, before you rise, spend 30 seconds with this truth. This day is a gift, and it is not guaranteed to repeat, not as performance, not as anxiety, but as a compass that orients every choice you make toward what genuinely matters. Write down one thing you would regret leaving undone if this were your last week. Then do something, anything that moves toward it today. Memento mori does not make life dark. It makes life luminous. It strips away everything false and leaves only what burns with genuine meaning. But there is another habit, one that confronts a different kind of death, the daily death of your attention. And it builds directly on this foundation. Let's move to habit 5. Habit 5. The habit of radical attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Even if you were to live 3,000 years or 30,000, remember that no one loses any other life than the one being now lived." Seneca reinforced this in Letters to Lucilius, letter I. "Seize, therefore, every hour. Those who are ahead of us will not all reach their end. This profound truth has guided warriors, leaders, and philosophers for centuries. Every moment of fractured attention is a moment of unlived life. Radical attention is the Stoic practice of being fully present with what is in front of you, not as a passive meditation technique, but as an active, disciplined habit of engagement. The Stoics did not compartmentalize life into mindful moments and normal moments. For them, every action, eating, walking, working, speaking, deserved the full weight of conscious attention. This is what separated the Stoic philosopher from the crowd, not what they knew, but how completely they showed up for what they were doing. Here is the cost of distraction that no one calculates. Every time your attention fragments, every ping, every tab, every half conversation you have while half thinking about something else, you are not just losing productivity, you are losing the experience of your own life. Neuroscience now confirms what Seneca knew intuitively. A mind that wanders loses not only present performance, but the capacity for deep satisfaction. Chronic distraction rewires your brain to crave stimulation and flee depth. For 1 week, practice single tasking with militant consistency. 1 conversation, no phone. 1 piece of work, no background noise. 1 meal, no screen. 1 walk, no podcast. Not because distraction is always wrong, but because you must retrain your nervous system to tolerate and then love the depth that full attention creates. When you speak to someone, look at them as if this conversation is the only thing happening in the universe. When you work, bring the same totality. You will feel, at first, unbearably restless. That restlessness is not boredom. That is the withdrawal symptom of a mind addicted to fragmentation. Push through it. On the other side is something most modern people have never experienced: the deep, quiet power of a mind that can choose where it goes and stay there. If you haven't yet tapped like on this video, do it now, and let's move to one of the most misunderstood habits in all of Stoic philosophy. Let's move to habit 6. Habit 6. The habit of negative visualization. Seneca wrote in Letters to Lucilius, letter XCVEI. Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. Epictetus echoed this in the Enchiridion. Never say about anything, I have lost it, but I have returned it. This profound truth has guided warriors, leaders, and philosophers for centuries. Negative visualization is the ancient practice of imagining loss, so that you can truly appreciate what you have before it is gone. Remember the dichotomy of control from habit 3. Here is where it amplifies into something extraordinary. Negative visualization is not pessimism. It is not anxiety. It is the deliberate, calm practice of imagining the removal of something you value, your health, your relationships, your ability to work, and sitting with that image long enough to feel genuine gratitude for its current presence. Modern psychology has a name for the opposite of this habit: hedonic adaptation. The phenomenon by which we rapidly normalize every good thing in our lives until we no longer see it. The new car becomes ordinary. The loving partner becomes expected. The functioning body becomes invisible until it is gone. You are surrounded by gifts you have stopped seeing, the person whose voice you take for granted, the body that carried you through today without complaint, the work that provides for your life, the friend who answers when you call. Hedonic adaptation has made you blind to all of it. And that blindness is a form of poverty that no financial wealth can cure. Tonight, before you sleep, spend 5 minutes in deliberate negative visualization. Imagine, vividly, specifically, the absence of something you deeply value. Let yourself feel the weight of that absence. Then open your eyes and look at what is still here. This practice doesn't create fear. It creates fierce gratitude, the kind that changes how you speak to people, how you work, and how you walk through ordinary days that are anything but ordinary. The most powerful habit is coming up. But before we reach it, there is a habit that bridges all the others. Let's move to habit 7. Habit 7, the habit of the evening examination. Seneca wrote in on anger. When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by. This profound truth has guided warriors, leaders, and philosophers for centuries. The Stoics were among the first to systematize self-examination, not as guilt, but as engineering. The evening examination is the daily audit of your own character. It is the practice of sitting alone, in silence, and reviewing the day with the dispassionate honesty of a judge, not to condemn yourself, but to calibrate, to identify where you were strong and where you were weak, where you acted with integrity and where you compromised, where you maintained your principles and where you allowed the pressure of the world to erode them. This is the habit that transforms information into wisdom and experience into growth. Without it, you repeat the same patterns indefinitely, calling it fate when it is actually blindness. Most people end their days consuming. They fall into their phone, into a screen, into unconscious distraction, and they carry the unexamined weight of the day directly into their sleep, and from their sleep directly into the next morning. They wonder why they feel stuck, why the same mistakes keep appearing, why the same emotions keep ambushing them. They have never sat still long enough to hear what the day was trying to teach them. Each night, ask yourself 3 questions with complete honesty. Where did I fall short of the person I intend to be? What could I have done differently? And more importantly, why did I choose what I chose? What was good today that I should deliberately build upon? Write the answers. Don't sanitize them. The Stoics were not gentle with themselves in private, and that private severity is precisely what made them formidable in public. The man who examines himself each night rebuilds himself each morning. He is not starting over, he is iterating. He is engineering a better version of himself with the precision and patience of a master craftsman, one examined day at a time. You've built the morning. You've survived the day with intention. You've closed it with examination. Now it's time for the final habit, the one that holds all the others together and transforms them from disciplines into an unbreakable identity. Let's move to habit 8. Habit 8, the habit of amor fati. Love your fate, Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations. Confine yourself to the present. But it was his broader philosophy of total acceptance that gave birth to what Nietzsche would later name amor fati, love of fate. Epictetus taught in the Enchiridion, seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life. This profound truth has guided warriors, leaders, and philosophers for centuries. Amor fati is not the philosophy of the defeated, it is the philosophy of the unconquerable. Amor fati is the habit of not merely accepting what happens to you, but actively loving it, the betrayal, the failure, the loss, the illness, the setback that derailed your plan, the year that broke what you thought was unbreakable. Not tolerating these things, not enduring them, loving them. Because the Stoics understood a truth so radical, it reshapes every experience you've ever had. Every difficulty that arrives in your life is not happening to you. It is material from which you are being built. Marcus Aurelius lost children. He fought wars he did not choose. He ruled over an empire riddled with plague, corruption, and betrayal. He did not simply endure these things, he mined them. He extracted from every devastating experience the precise habits and strengths that made his Meditations the most powerful philosophical text in human history. He became great because of what broke him, not in spite of it. When you adopt the habit of amor fati, when you stop fighting reality and start learning from it, your entire relationship with suffering transforms. The obstacle that once stopped you becomes the road. The rejection that once humiliated you becomes the redirection. The darkest chapter of your life becomes the origin story of your most powerful self. Practice this deliberately. The next time something painful happens, and something will, speak these words aloud or write them down. This is exactly what I needed, not as denial, not as performance, but as a chosen orientation, a deliberate reframing that says, I will not be reduced by this, I will be refined by this. The Stoics did not promise you a painless life. They promised you something far more valuable, a purposeful one. A life in which nothing is wasted, in which every storm that hits you becomes iron in the forge of your character, and every blow that strikes you makes the metal stronger. That is amor fati. That is the final fortress. You'll just walk through 8 of the most powerful habits ever forged by human philosophy. Let's seal them into your memory. One final time. The first habit: own your morning before the world can steal it, and you command your entire day. The second: choose voluntary hardship regularly, and you become immune to what you once feared. The third: master the dichotomy by sorting everything into what you control and what you don't, and you focus your power where it actually counts. The fourth: remember your death with clarity and reverence, and the trivial loses its grip on you forever. The fifth: give your full attention to what is in front of you, and you reclaim the experience of your own life. The sixth: visualize loss deliberately and intentionally, and ordinary days become extraordinary gifts. The seventh: examine your evening with honest, rigorous precision, and you transform every day into a habit that rebuilds you. And the eighth: love your fate completely and absolutely, and nothing that life sends you can reduce you, because you have learned to use everything. These are not ideas. They are not philosophical exercises for scholars in quiet rooms. These are weapons, forged in the crucible of 2,000 years of human struggle, tested by emperors and slaves and generals and prisoners, and they work, not because life becomes easier, but because you become harder to defeat. The world will continue to send chaos. Loss will come. Failure will come. Betrayal will come. The storms will not stop. But you are no longer building your life on the sand of comfort and approval and circumstance. You are building it on stone, on the immovable foundation of discipline, clarity, presence, and the fierce choice to rise regardless of what falls. Most people will watch a video like this and feel something powerful in the moment, and then return to the same patterns by tomorrow morning. Don't be most people. Take one habit from this video, just one, and practice it with total commitment for the next 30 days. One morning ritual, one cold shower, one evening examination. Start there. Build from there. The transformation that follows will surprise you. And if this video reached something real in you today, if something here resonated with the person you know you are capable of becoming, tap like right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells this message it deserves to reach more people who need it. Drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 8 habits hit you hardest. Which one are you starting tomorrow? I read every single response, and your answer matters. And if you are ready for more, if you want Stoic truth delivered with this level of depth and precision every single week, subscribe. Hit the bell, because the next video goes even deeper, and you don't want to arrive late. You already have everything you need to begin. The only question now is whether you will choose to. Become the master of your mind. Rebuild, refocus, rise.